whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Thank you for joining us. This is the Nikki Medoro Show on YouTube. I appreciate you all being here for us. We're going to have a great show today. A lot of moments. Starting off, of course, our thoughts and prayers do go out to LeBron James' son, Bronny James. Just a really cute name, by the way. But sadly, I mean, he suffered cardiac arrest during a basketball workout. Now, many people are wondering why someone so young is having cardiac arrest, while participating in a sport. And of course, this is bringing out conspiracy theorists surrounding the COVID vaccine. The American Heart Association has actually weighed in on it. And so we'll get to that. Elon Musk also weighing in on it, which is like, Jesus, Lord Almighty. Did you see how they were taking down the Twitter sign yesterday in San Francisco, and they may not have gotten the right permits because, of course, I don't know if they did or they didn't, but there was some questioning if they had the permits. And so the cops were called and they had to stop the whole thing. I checked and it still says tweet on the website. So, because Xing, it's so dumb. He's giving up such a great brand to tweet something or retweet something. It's already in our lexicon. Why change it, Elon? Whatever, it's your company. You can do what you want. The Carlee Russell disappearance. That is insane. I'm sure you've already heard Carlee Russell made the whole thing up, but I want to talk about why you think, and this is obviously all speculation, but let's speculate together. Why do you think what for all intents and purposes looks like a lovely woman? She had a job, she had a boyfriend, a family. Why do you think a person would make up a story like this? Why do you think? What can somebody get from that? I have my own theories. I want to hear yours as well. And, obviously her boyfriend's pissed off. Her family's probably embarrassed. No end. That's awful. But yeah. She's put out a statement. She's asking for prayers and what have you. UPS, that's another moment. UPS has decided not to go on strike. They have authorized a tentative contract with its 340 unionized workers. And you know what I love about this possible strike that's been averted? It mainly had to do with the part-time workers. And I feel like when we talk about part-time workers, they oftentimes don't get the same perks and protections that full-time workers do. And I love the fact that full-time workers were standing up for these UPS workers. I have a couple of feel-good stories, one happy, one really sad, but, talk about being a hero as the last thing that you ever did. I want to weigh in a little closer to home on the story out of Berkeley. So tonight, the Berkeley City Council will be voting on whether or not they should put fixed, like on light poles, fixed license plate readers to try to catch people. So if your car has been reported stolen, cops are immediately alerted and they could pull the car over if they find it. Do you think that this would be a violation of our civil liberties? That's going to be the debate. And with the shortage of police officers, not just in the Bay Area, but honestly, all across the country, in many parts of the United States, I mean, do we need to start depending more on technology for these sorts of things? In the second part of the show, I want to talk about school choice. I was not aware because I don't live in Arizona. Huge school choice experiment happening there because in the Republican-controlled legislature last year, Arizona became the first state to make every student, even if you are rich, eligible for a school voucher. The average amount, $7,200 per student each year. The school choice and the voucher program, I'm really torn on. And so we'll get into that. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it, especially those of you who may not like your local public school, the school that your child is assigned to. Kim McAllister, actually, and she's going to join us in a few moments. She sent me the story yesterday, and it was insane. The headline reads, Bay Area aunties from China can charge $10,000 a month. Who they are and why are they in such demand? This was in the Chronicle. I'll give you some of the numbers, but how many of you use a nanny, used a nanny, have been a nanny, a doula? Because it's that first month nanny that's making all of the money. And, for all the things I could spend money on, I know that first month's extremely hard. $10,000 a month hard? I don't know. And then Kristen Bell has made kind of a shocking admission about what she allows her children to drink. I want to know what you guys think about that. We'll wrap our show with that. But before we do any of that, you guys know the drill. Take your mouse or your finger or whatever you're watching this on, and please click the thumbs up button just once to support to support the show. YouTube loves it and it helps us expand. We have broken the 4,000 subscriber mark. I appreciate it. I feel like every new subscriber I get after our huge initial launch is someone that's really come and started to enjoy the show and is part of our community. And so I really love the authentic nature of this show. And I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. The super chat is also live. And oh my goodness, look who has started us off in his oh so generous way. It's Andreas. Andreas, I love you. I love seeing your name in the chat. Thank you so much. You're in Greece. Totally jealous. How is the weather? Hotter than hell, I think, right? $20 donation, not just once, but twice from Andreas. Miss you, miss you, miss you too, my friend. Thank you so much. You're such a great part of the show. And not just because of your donations, but what you've always contributed to the conversation. And just know that we are still thinking of you and your family so very much. So if you want to be like Andreas and donate to the super chat, just look for the $sign. It's right under the chat box. And you can donate any amount. It's a super sticker, a super comment. If you leave a super comment during the live show, we will read it on air. We could comment about it. And so that's a great way to support the show. But as we all know, all my Medorables out there, the number one way to support the show is to become a monthly Patreon subscriber. It's a one-time a month payment that goes directly to myself and to Kim to continue doing the show. And you get to decide. Some other podcasters, YouTubers, they set different tiers. We haven't done that, at least not yet. I like the fact that whatever you can afford, we'll totally accept and be grateful for. So grateful for. So just go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com. Become a monthly Patreon subscriber if it's your first time. If you can afford more and you've already been a subscriber and you want to bump it up because you can afford it, we would so appreciate it. But again, not trying to break you. I know that sometimes, times are tough for people at different points. Just whatever you can afford to support the show, we really, truly appreciate it. And if you go to the Nikki Medoro Show at Gmail, theNikkiMedoroShow.com, our PayPal link is there. And the email, it's the PayPal email and the email to reach me, theNikkiMedoroShow at gmail.com, theNikkiMedoroShow at gmail.com. And our merchandise shop has a ton of stuff in it. You can go check it out. This is a few things right behind me. TheNikkiMedoroShop.com is where you can find that. And a reminder that it's happening a week from today, my friends. This show will now greet you in the morning for all of my live watchers out there. Obviously, if you watch at your convenience, you can watch at whatever time. But this show is moving to 9 o'clock. So we'll start around 9 o'clock, go to about 11 o'clock. Myself, Kim McAllister. Then from here, you go to Mark Thompson, who is on from 11 to 1. And then you go to Kim McAllister and John Daly. They're doing a 1-hour show after Mark Thompson from 1 until 2. On your screen is the link. We need to get her to 1,000 subscribers. Okay. So go to theafterparty.live. Theafterparty.live. Don't put afterparty.live. That doesn't work. You need the in there. So theafterparty.live. Make sure you're subscribed. Tell your friends. Kim actually made this really cute kind of time change lineup. And again, this starts 1 week from today on August 1st. So the lineup's right there. This show 9 to 11, Mark Thompson from 11 to 1, and the after party with Kim McAllister and John Daly from 1 until 2. So make sure you subscribe. We want to continue to support all of these shows. And I'm so proud of Kim for launching this show. I know she was hesitant at first, but I think, oh, good. Wes, thank you for the update. She's at like 7:30 right now. So we only need a couple hundred more people to subscribe to the show. She's hit that 1,000 mark and she can go live a week from today. And that's going to be easy peasy because I know this community loves to support each and every one of us. And I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's get into the show. So really sad story that came out. Bronny James, who's the son of LeBron James, basketball star, he suffered cardiac arrest yesterday. Here's a bit of a news report on it. Now, as you watch it, just guess what's been happening since the news broke and the conspiracy theories around it.
Yeah, David, Bronny James is the son of arguably the greatest player in NBA history, LeBron James. The 18-year-old was a high school All-American basketball star last year and chose to continue his playing career at the University of Southern California, and that is where this medical scare happened yesterday. A statement attributed to a family spokesman said this: yesterday, while practicing, Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest. Medical staff was able to treat Bronny and take him to the hospital. He is now in stable condition and no longer in ICU. We ask for respect and privacy for the James family, and we will update media when there is more information. Now, fellow athletes have already pledged their support. Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who you might remember suffered cardiac arrest during a nationally televised football game, posted on social media. Prayers to Bronny and the James family as well. Here for you guys, just like you have been for me my entire process. Now, when you're the child of one of the most visible superstar athletes on planet Earth, and when you have tremendous physical talent and a blessed genetic heritage, the eyes of the sports world will always be watching, and now in this case, praying for a speedy and complete recovery.
Okay, so 18 years old, suffers cardiac arrest. We don't know. There are always instances where, I mean, if you're healthy in every other way, sometimes you don't find that you might have a certain health ailment that you specifically have to test for. But because this is 2023 and everything needs to be politicized, a lot of people are saying that Bronny James, a young 18-year-old basketball star who should arguably not have any health problems, although we know people do, it's because of the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. It's the jab that's caused it. Now, look, as the mother of a son, I do remember when the vaccine was coming out that in comparison to girls and women, boys had a higher risk of something called myocarditis. Okay. And that has to do with the heart. And of course, it's an inflammation of the wall of the heart. And it can trigger it's uncommon and typically triggered by a viral infection. It can weaken the heart muscle and, could cause heart damage. It could lead to cardiac arrest in some cases. And so some people are saying, because of the heightened risk of myocarditis amongst boys with the COVID vaccine, that must be what happened to Bronny James. Well, the American Heart Association, which I would say knows a thing or two about hearts, actually has come out and say the overall risk of myocarditis is substantially higher after being infected with COVID-19. More so than with the vaccine. So if you have COVID, your risk is elevated. Now, not saying that there isn't a higher risk especially for boys after the vaccine to suffer myocarditis, but it's higher after getting COVID. It's almost as if there is a consequence for this virus other than death or long COVID. Okay. Now, I don't know. I actually don't know. And I guess I should have looked this up. I don't know if Bronny James ever contracted COVID-19. I'm assuming that he's been vaccinated. But that and Greg, that's the answer. I mean, I don't know if Bronny James has any health ailments. Maybe he has an enlarged heart. Maybe there's something wrong with his heart that has nothing to do with COVID. But if it is related to COVID, the question that I would like answered is, one, did he ever have COVID-19? Did he ever have the virus? Because the American Heart Association is saying that if you have had COVID, you do have a higher risk of getting myocarditis, especially men and boys. It's higher for some reason than in women and girls. That's what they found, at least. So those questions need to be answered. And I don't know necessarily if you're going to be able to draw a definitive line from either COVID-19 or the vaccine to this kid's heart attack. But it hasn't stopped people from basically saying, yeah, it's totally it. There's one guy, he's this far-right commentator, Benny Johnson. He tweets out, and I'm still calling him tweets, I don't give a crap. He tweets out, "Hi, I'm not a doctor," which is where it should have stopped, but of course he keeps going. "I'm just a simple man of 37 years who pays attention to trends we can see with our own eyes. I'm here to tell you it's not normal for thousands of healthy teenage athletes to be collapsing, some dying from cardiac arrest. Now ask why." Okay, let's ask why. And I gave you a possibility. Did these players contract COVID? If they did, that could be why. That's my point. Is that if you've had COVID, which many people have had, unfortunately, your risk of myocarditis goes up. It's just, it's documented by the American Heart Association. So that's the balance and why we have to really be sensitive at moments like this, because the knee-jerk reaction of just blaming it on the vaccine, well, not only could be wrong, right? And again, I'm not sure if we can definitively say that. But then what are you saying to people like LeBron James or any other parents that chose to get their children vaccinated, right? It's as if you want to blame them for taking the best course of action to prevent your child from hopefully contracting or having a bad reaction if they do contract COVID-19. It's like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I think it's really a cruel thing to do. Now, Elon Musk, of course, just can't help himself. He must weigh in. He tweets, "We cannot ascribe everything to the vaccine, but by the same token, we cannot ascribe nothing. Myocarditis is a known side effect. The only question is whether it's rare or common." True, but myocarditis is a known side effect of COVID and the vaccine. So I just feel like it's dangerous. What I found hilarious though is as Elon Musk tweeted that, because they're still called tweets, there's a contextual warning under his tweet. "Studies show that the risk of myocarditis is significantly higher after an actual COVID infection than with the vaccine. Among adolescent boys, the risk of myocarditis following a COVID infection was approximately twice that of the risk following the second vaccine dose." So even his own tweet on his own platform had to bring the context that he always seems to lack. You would think that the owner of a social media platform, a platform that does this contextual kind of correction or explanation, would do it himself, right? Would do it himself. But he doesn't, because, he only wants to do so much work. Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. And, I don't think anybody wants, obviously, an 18-year-old to have a heart attack, especially
No.
you don't anticipate that ever happening to a young person.
Mm-mm.
But it can happen. And I don't know if you knew that there is a risk of myocarditis with boys, especially. It's a heightened risk with adolescent boys. but also with getting COVID in and of itself. And as I
Mhm.
just mentioned, twice as high as the risk is twice as high getting COVID as is the second dose of the vaccine. What would you do as a parent?
So I feel like the risk of COVID is worse. And I know that the risk of myocarditis related to the vaccine is rare, very rare.
It's
We
less than COVID. Yeah, it's less
yeah.
than COVID.
I talked to Peter Chin Hong about it, and he said that the rates of that happening. But this is the numbers were when it first was started to show itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the rates of that happening are rare, he said, and so given that information, I'm more worried about COVID, which is a lot less rare. So
Yeah.
I'll go
I
vaccine all the way.
and I just
Yeah.
think that and I'll just use the word cruel because for LeBron James and his family, deciding to vaccinate your child became such a point of contention.
Mhm.
And then if something happens to your kid, people are, in the freaking comments, probably DMing, see, you did this to your child. And how awful that is to do to any parent who is honestly probably just trying to make the right decision.
Yep.
And, it sucks that people are like that.
I feel the same way about, and I know that having a heart attack is a lot different, but I feel the same way about the the vaccine for cervical cancer,
Mhm.
right?
The
So
HPV.
at the beginning, it was like, this is untested. We don't know what's going to happen
Right.
to
Yeah.
girls. Da, da, da. And it kind of had me freaked out a little bit. And then, the data started coming in, and I'm glad didn't have to be among the first to make that choice.
Mm.
But I had a discussion with our pediatrician, and we talked about it. And she's like, no, she needs it. And here's why.
Yeah.
If my doctor's telling me that, she's the educated one, and I picked her because I trust her. So,
Yes, thank you.
mhm.
And I love that you framed it that way, Kim, because look, whether it's a Benny Johnson commenter or Elon Musk, they're not doctors. Okay? They're probably people that like to do their own research online. So, how about I go to somebody that I trust and that actually went to school and is licensed to do this sort of stuff
Mhm.
to weigh the pros and cons, and then it always comes down to your choice, especially with
Yeah.
things like vaccines. Now, with the HPV, the cervical cancer vaccine for kids, I remember that. My daughter was too young at the age, as was Kim's, when the whole hoopla about it was happening and it came out. But when she became eligible, I didn't even have any hesitation. I was
Yeah.
like, nope. If I have if there's a chance at protecting my child, I'm going to
Mhm.
do it. Right.
Absolutely.
Because if I had the opportunity to, and just because of, people getting in my ear and me not listening to the experts, she did end up getting it. I couldn't live with myself then. And you know what I also do? I also try to remove our privilege from the conversation because there are people in this world
Oh, yeah.
that are literally dying to reach the vaccines that many people so easily shun.
That we're like, we don't know if we want that or not. Let's look at the studies. And other
Right.
people are like, oh my God, can I get the vaccine? My kid is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I try to remove myself from it. I mean, obviously, there's nothing wrong with questioning and having conversations and talking to your doctors. But if you've already have it in your mind that you are going to seek out confirmation so you don't have to do something, well, then
Mhm.
just don't do it. Don't act like you're doing research. What you're doing is you're looking for things so that you can argue your point. Now, with vaccines, we live so much longer because of them. And that is just documented every single day. And, you know, and unfortunately, with the COVID pandemic, obviously it came out of left field for us, right? We did not know how to deal with it. We were so politically divided because of former President Trump and all the nonsense coming out of his mouth. We weren't in a place as a country to deal with it. And we weren't the only place. I mean, it just divided us as, I'm not even going to say it, as a species, because we just weren't prepared for something that spread so freaking quickly. And it sucks,
You know
and
what's
I hope we learn the
amazing?
lessons.
What's amazing to me is how one person saying something can start this wildfire rumor that squashes the truth.
Yeah.
And I'll use myself as an example. When I had to make the choice to get my babies vaccinated, Julia was first.
Right.
So same pediatrician, go in, and I know I'm going to get my kids vaccinated. I that's the thing. But I hear Jenny McCarthy's voice in my head. I saw his eyes change right after he was vaccinated, and I knew that was it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm looking in my kids' eyes. Did the eyes change?
I hear you. Absolutely.
I mean,
I know, and it sucks, right? You're
ridiculous.
like, yeah.
I know, and it's ridiculous, but still, you're like looking at the kid like, are you?
Oh, I did it after the COVID-19 vaccine, and you know how confident I was I was always going to get my kid vaccinated. But I would be lying if I didn't say that for the 24 hours after, especially with my son. How you feeling? Are you feeling okay? How you feel?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel the heart racing? Like I was, and I think that's human nature. You have to, make a leap of faith and trust the doctors and trust the advice that you're getting. But it's human nature. You can't block everything out. It seeps in, and we're moms or parents. Worrying comes like second nature. It's like breathing. It's like, nope. I mean, it never stops. And so
show me your eyes. I also think that a lot of people try to do their own research.
Yeah,
and they're,
the
and
internet,
either they
damn it.
look up these articles from nefarious sources, or they try to go to the peer-reviewed research. And I'll include myself in this. A lot of people have trouble understanding peer-reviewed research. It's very sciencey. It's written in a certain way. And so I have not been above, checking in with a family member who has a degree in some scientific related field to say, what do you think of this? So, I just think a lot of people think they can understand it, or they look at it and go, oh, here's what my take from it. And that's completely not what it says. So you have to be careful.
Exactly. So again, thoughts and prayers that Bronny James is in stable condition. Looks, at least at this point from the last news article I read, he's going to make a recovery, right? It's scary though. If my son at 18 years old had a heart attack, everything would be running through my mind. But what's not helpful is for people to definitively say it's something before we have all the answers. So just calm down, as Taylor Swift would say, and let's just wait for the doctors to say what it is. Okay, I do want to get to this. We'll do a couple of headlines with Kim, and it might actually be in her headlines, but we'll talk about it some more. Carlee Russell, what the hell? Now, she's the Alabama woman who said she saw a kid in a diaper walking down the freeway, and then she disappeared. And it's all a hoax. So obviously, we'll bring you up to speed on it. But this is my question, because I have my own theory, and we're just going to speculate. Let's speculate together, people. Why do you think people do this? She's not the first person to make up a story. Remember the bride, the runaway bride, and there's different reasons why people do things. But why do you think that she
remember the lady found walking on the side of the road?
Yes.
With the chains and the whatnot?
Well, that was Huskins, right? Hutchins. But it was true though. Remember? It was true. Now that was the case, unless I'm mixing up my cases. Remember, she went back home. And the cops are like, she made up the whole entire story. I'll Google it when I'll get the correct. And then the cops had to apologize because they said she's lying. She's lying. She's lying.
Are you talking about the Vallejo case? No, I'm talking about the lady in Yolo County who was found with chains and like marks on her body. And she apparently was hanging out with an ex-boyfriend at the time.
Jesus, Lord. And so this is my question. Why do you think this happens? Because I have a theory. I have my own theory, and it's really it's a bleak about humanity in 2023 reason why. But if I'm incorrect, you guys tell me why you think. I mean, is it simple as money? Is that it? They just want money? Because at some point, things are going to come out as they always do. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, we'll have some feel-good stories. One will really make you feel good. One makes you feel good, but it's so freaking sad. And then I do want to get into this license plate reader story out of Berkeley, where they're going to talk about it tonight, about placing fixed license plate readers like on traffic lights.
Yeah.
Just to scan every single car that passes it. How do you feel about that? And is it time for us to kind of lean into technology because we are so short-staffed when it comes to law enforcement? Click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show, and we'll talk about all of that right after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Yes, let us begin with President Joe Biden. He is taking steps to provide better access to mental health care now. The president is unveiling a proposed rule this afternoon that would require insurers to make sure that people have equivalent access to mental health and medical benefits. The Labor, Treasury, and Health and Human Services departments would be in charge of enforcing that rule. Whew, it was going to be a rough summer, a rough fall. Looks like UPS and the Teamsters have reached a tentative agreement on a new contract that averts a national strike. Ratification of the new 5-year deal, which reportedly includes significant pay raises for delivery drivers, could take about 3 weeks. The union represents more than 300,000 UPS workers. Utah Senator Mitt Romney, there he is. He says he's calling on long-shot Republican candidates to drop out of the presidential race sooner rather than later. Romney, in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, called on Republican donors to push non-competitive presidential candidates out of the race by February. Romney wants to avoid a crowded primary that could easily hand the contest to former President Trump. There are more than 30 drugs that may face supply chain disruption after a tornado damaged a North Carolina Pfizer plant. Company warned hospitals in a letter Friday that about 65 formulations of those drugs could see disruptions. The Rocky Mount facility makes close to a quarter of Pfizer's injectable medicines used in hospitals across the country, one of the largest facilities in the world for manufacturing sterile injectables. I have to put a picture up of X because you just can't. I mean, you can't make this up, really. Why someone would do this? I can't do it. I should have had it planned out. My apologies, everyone. But I will say that Elon Musk may face a legal challenge now over Twitter's new X logo. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office said Meta applied to trademark the X logo in 2017 and officially registered it in June of 2019. Legal experts say Meta could dispute Twitter's logo and call it trademark infringement, but it would ultimately be up to a judge to decide. So isn't Twitter threatening Meta with a lawsuit over the implementation of Threads? If that gets too contentious, Meta can just turn around and say, well, we trademarked the X. So
yeah, I thought that I read, and I could be wrong, that the X that they trademarked was a certain color. I thought it was like blue or something.
It's a different logo, but it's still an X.
Yeah, but can you trademark X? That seems weird, doesn't it? For a social media platform, I guess, though. If you can't call a social media platform X. And
they have the paperwork. I saw, remember Clark Reed? He posted it.
I saw that too. He
posted a picture of the logo. So, yeah, I mean, it looks different, but I guess it's still...
I mean, anybody surprised Elon Musk didn't do the research? Does he not have people that look into these things? Or I know he loves the letter X. We talked about this yesterday.
I would call everything X. Space X. Model X.
That he would have just a little bit of research, but I guess not.
Hollywood actors and actresses on strike demanding better wages and compensation. Many of them gathered today, SAG-AFTRA union members in Times Square in New York for a Rock the City for a Fair Contract rally. And that is what's happening today. Of course, they walked off the job July 13th after disputes between the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, which represents all the networks and studios and streamers. Skittles is coming out with a new flavor this summer. Woohoo! No, ooh. I don't think you want the flavor.
No? Oh, okay, what?
This is in honor of National Mustard Day. August 5th. Mustard flavored Skittles will be making their debut.
That's messed up.
Ew. The new flavor is in collaboration with French's Yellow Mustard. Fans will get to taste the new flavor at French's Mustard Mobile that will be making stops in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and New York City next week.
You know, if they were smart, they would do something like yellow would be the mustard and maybe green would be like pickle. Like something that you can eat together.
It's not National Pickle Day.
I
All
know,
right.
but like nobody wants to just eat straight mustard. What the hell? That's weird. That's weird. Like I would never just squeeze. I mean, maybe and we usually have like 10, 20, 30 different mustards, it seems like, in our fridge.
Yeah.
We are a mustard house, but I'm not straight into my mouth with mustard.
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
And I don't think I'd want a handful of mustard Skittles like I would a handful of regular flavored Skittles, because those are delicious. Yeah, no, thank you. That does not sound appetizing at all.
Can't interest you in a few mustard Skittles? Well, Skittles by their very nature are kind of like a tangy sweet flavor.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like a sweet tangy mustard flavor. I'm still not going for it.
Yeah. No.
But and also Skittles they've had a bunch of issues recently because of the study that showed that there's toxic chemicals in them. Remember that?
Isn't that with like one of the ingredients,
The dyes or whatever?
The dye or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully the mustard flavored Skittles are a little, less chemical imbued.
Well, on that note, I do want everyone to know that I moved away from my Splenda after I found out that it separates your DNA or something like that. Now I'm on stevia, which apparently doesn't do any of that stuff. It's all right. I'm kind of drinking less coffee now.
I'd just rather have nothing. I'd rather have no sugar. Like either use it's like margarine, right? For a while, everyone was like, "Oh, margarine, use margarine instead of butter. It's better for your heart." And then we realized, no, it isn't.
No,
absolutely worse for you.
Yeah, it's gross.
Chemicals and trans fat. It's worse.
Just have butter and just don't eat a lot of it. Just eat butter.
That's right. And that's how I feel about sugar. Just have sugar, but have a little bit of it. Otherwise, you get all these chemicals and all this crap. I don't have any interest in that. So
Liz says, how about monk fruit? I've never had monk fruit. Does it, do I have to get used to the taste? Is it an acquired taste is what I'm trying to say as I'm stumbling. Monk fruit sounds like something I'd have to be committed to. I just want my coffee to be a little sweet. Is that too hard? That's all I want.
Yes. Yeah. Learn to like it black.
That's on my mother. My mother doesn't like anything. She's the easiest person to make a cup of coffee for, because you literally just pour the coffee in a cup. I love people that drink their coffee black. I don't like black coffee. I'll drink it, but I usually just have one. I like my coffee a little sweet, not too sweet.
Yeah.
A little sweet and a little creamy.
I think you get used to the no sugar thing. So I think after a while, if you stop drinking anything with sugar in it, when you have a sweet drink, it's like, it tastes gross, right?
Right. A little too sweet.
So you kind of train your taste buds to enjoy the non-sweet flavor better. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. And I feel like I've cut a lot of sugar, like that sugar flavor out. Really, Kim, the only thing that I'm gonna put stevia artificial, not sugar, right? Is coffee and my booze. And that's only the splash of the diet ginger beer that I use. But other than that, I really just drink water all day. Like,
yeah, that's good.
If I'm not, and I'm not a huge candy person, sometimes I have a little sweet tooth type of thing, but I'm not talking about I'm eating a ton of artificial sweeteners. I'm not drinking diet sodas and things like that. I love Squares. Splenda covered hot cereal with saran wrap in the microwave.
Oh my God, you're giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, okay. So, and on that note, I did just the other day, because I haven't been eating a lot of things up lately, but I did. I had extra paper plates from our barbecue that we had the other day, and I just slapped one on my friggin' bowl that I wanted to heat up. And
I hope you thought of me while you did it.
I did. Instantly, like, that's for you, Kim McAllister. That's for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm trying to say
no plastic in the microwave. Thank you very much.
All right, y'all done? Is that it?
That's it. Party over.
All right. Okay, so that's Kim McAllister. Another reminder, we're going to do it constantly. On your screen is the new lineup. It starts 1 week from today. On your screen, you will also see the website. Go to theafterparty.live. You need the. If you put in afterparty.live, it takes you to something else. Yeah. So you need theafterparty.live. And make sure you are subscribed. We only need like a couple hundred more subscribers at last check, Kim. So you're very, very close.
It's 2 clicks. I put the link in there.
Perfect.
You click on the link and then you click subscribe. And the reason it's important is because we can't do the extra hour with the afterparty.live unless we get 1,000 subscribers. And
Yeah.
so I'm very in need of your help and assistance to make it happen. And thank you for doing it. Right now we're at almost 750.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. And then we have a week. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm positive before this week is over, Kim will have the necessary subscribers to go live 1 week from today.
Yeah.
But the lineup is 9 to 11, the Nikki Medoro Show, 11 to 1, the Mark Thompson Show, and then 1 to 2, the After Party with Kim McAllister and John Daly.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're subscribed. And everybody, I love seeing it. It's in there. I emailed someone earlier the new lineup. So we just want to keep all of these shows going. And of course, if you can financially support the show, this show, Mark's show, and the After Party Live, that keeps it going as well, because we all have to keep the lights on, people. We all have to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the hoax. Now, Kim, I want you to be honest with me. When you heard about Carlee Russell, the Alabama woman who claimed she saw a kid on the side of the freeway and then she disappeared for like a day or so, did you think it was BS from the get-go? Did your news go be like, nah, I don't know about that?
My news radar went ping, ping, ping.
Yeah.
But I thought, what a horrible story.
I
Good
know.
Samaritan stopping to help a child. I hope she's okay. And then I thought, and this seems a little weird.
This is what that initially triggered when they had the press conference. Like at first, it was just a news story, right? Like this woman disappeared, and I was like, "Oh, that's very concerning." And then when they were just really trying to confirm everything, it was the distance that they said that this little boy had been walking on the freeway, and I was like, "Nah, she's full of crap now." Like, no. I'm boggled though every time I listened to that 911 call. How sincere she sounded. Like she sounded like she was looking, maybe she practiced it. I know people lie and they act and they do all of these sorts of things, but it just boggles my mind that she did this, because I don't know why she would want to. Like I said earlier, it doesn't seem, she's that has anything in her background that would make her desperate for attention. But is that the reason? I'm going to play you a little bit of a news report again. This is with the update. And you guys tell me in the comments. I have my own theory. But why do you think a woman like Carlee Russell or other people make up these types of hoaxes?
That sounds like that's exactly what happened, Hallie. This really is a stunning ending to a case that in so many ways has captivated this country. So not too long ago, police there in Hoover, Alabama, gave an update. They read a statement from an attorney on behalf of Carlee Russell and essentially said point blank, there was no kidnapping. I want to read you a couple of the top lines from this. There was no kidnapping. She says she never saw a baby on the side of the road. She didn't leave the Hoover area. She says she did not have any help in this incident. I think that's something that's important to point out, that this was a single act done alone by herself. She says in the statement that my client was not at a hotel with anyone from the time she was missing, that Carlee apologizes to everyone in the community who searched for her, and then kind of ending by asking for prayers. We ask for your prayers as Carlee addresses these issues, her issues, and attempts to move forward, understanding that she made a mistake in all of this. So, Hallie, we kind of saw that this could be coming when the police put out their press conference last week, pointing out inconsistency after inconsistency in her story and a number of things that pointed to no kidnapping. But today she's speaking out through an attorney. Now, there are still a number of questions, a chief among them. Where was she during this 49-hour period during which she was missing? We know that that's something that police say they're going to be looking into as well.
Okay, that I'd love to hear as well. Now, a lot of you are just saying, like Greg, I guess people like attention.
Yeah.
John says she wanted attention, possible mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
This is what came into my mind because it's 2023, social media, also her age. Like, is this a way to make money? Is this a way to make a name for yourself if, of course, you get away with it?
You're waiting for the GoFundMe or something?
You're waiting for the GoFundMe, or you can write a book, or,
Right.
you'll be able to get a streaming channel, or all of these sorts of different ways that people of her age can make money. Is that what leads people to do something like this? Now, what was she doing? just sitting, hiding off somewhere, watching news report after news report of her. She didn't apparently tell her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's pissed off, right? He's upset. Her family is probably so embarrassed. Now, Kim, you had mentioned it was Sherry Papini.
Good old Sherry.
She's the one that faked her own kidnapping in 2016 in a hoax that was exposed with DNA evidence. The one that I was talking about, which is why I think we kind of give things paused, was Denise Huskins. Now, she was the one who claimed she was kidnapped. Police stopped buying it, called her out, said it was a hoax, and then it turned out, no. She actually was telling the truth. Yeah. So it's these different types of situations where you're like, why would anybody want to lie? And I'll also add this caveat, another layer that kind of makes it gross, is that she is a Black woman. And the whole argument about how, the missing pretty white girl syndrome, right? And now all of a sudden, we're trying to push against that, right? We're trying to push against it. We're going to try to find this Black woman. And she's freaking lying about it. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't still try to find women and children of color just as much as we choose to put so much attention on missing white kids and white people. Of course not. But it's similar to when someone lies about a crime. Those that are telling the truth are hurt the most because then everybody is, covered in an air of suspicion and not believed right away. And that's the hardest part about this. And I think the grossest part of it is that she sadly could have been the face of like this country getting it together and actually wanting to put the right amount of media attention on a missing person. And the chick was lying the whole time.
Here's Papini.
Yeah, that's what
Sherry.
Oh,
Sherry. What motivates these people to do this? It's just that, are they bored in their life and they, need to concoct some stories to get attention from people? Like, I don't know.
Hold on. This is my favorite one. And I'm not making fun. I'm just saying this was my favorite one because everyone had their own suspicions about it. And also because everyone then became like little sleuths about what could be wrong with this woman. Remember this woman? Oh, here's her picture. Hold on. Remember the runaway bride, Jennifer Wilbanks?
Oh, yeah. I remember the photo. Tell me her story.
So this was all the way back in 2005 when she went missing 3 days before her wedding, like 600 guests. There were 28 people in her bridal party, which all of a sudden, that's insane anyway. Now, apparently she did not return to their home after going on a jog. They started searching for her. According to CNN, Wilbanks called the police and her fiance from New Mexico. On April 30th, she said she'd been kidnapped and sexually assaulted. But during questioning by police, she recounted her story. She said she actually took a taxi to a Greyhound terminal to Vegas and then Albuquerque.
What's the story? Did he marry her anyway or no?
No, I do not think that they ever got married.
Dodge that bullet, pal.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember because she had those
talk about a crazy ex.
Yeah, she had those really wide eyes. People were trying to become doctors all of a sudden and say, oh, she has this kind of illness that makes her not think clearly or whatever. But it's these types of stories that stay with you. And that's why, it really sucks that she lied about it.
Long time ago, I worked with this lady and she told all of the coworkers that she had cancer and was going in for cancer treatment and took some time off of work and, would still come in sometimes, but people were bringing her, food and like checking up on her, making sure she's okay. She was lying. Didn't anything wrong with her at all. Why would you do that?
I would do that. Attention, money, maybe. I mean, I can understand money the most. Yeah, I can understand money the most. I needed money. It was the quickest way to get money. Because you've heard stories. People will shave their heads.
Yeah.
And then sadly, the Munchausen by proxy, where adults do it to their children to get attention, which is really freaking sad and dangerous. It's insane. But something like this, especially in this day and age where your phone is the biggest rat you own, right? It will rat your ass out so much because people are idiots, right? We're just morons. We think I'm just going to Google, do I have to pay for an Amber Alert and all? Like, what? Of course the cops are going to get that information. Of course, you're going to get caught by doing stuff like that.
And when you talk about Carlee Russell and
Yes.
the I saw a baby on the side of the freeway. Oops, no, I didn't.
Right.
That was what her first downfall was her internet searches. That
Yes.
she searched the movie Taken.
Yep.
She searched Amber Alerts.
Yep.
She searched booking a bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville. And she searched, quote, how to take money from a register without being caught.
Yeah. Because apparently there's money missing from the till at her work, and her boss may press charges if it's discovered that she's the one, because she apparently was found with money in her sock. And so her boss is going to see if money's missing to see whether or not he's going to press charges. Now, I also think when we're talking about women of color missing and things like that, I thought it was also interesting that it was a white baby that was walking on the side of the road, right? To make sure, and in her mind, like, I'm going to get attention. White child, walking without pants on in a diaper on the side of the road. It blows my mind that people do stuff like this. And how embarrassing, not just for her, but for her entire family.
Imagine the thought process too. Okay, what am I going to say happened to me? Yeah. What am I going to say? Okay, here's what she comes up with.
Yeah.
So a man picks me up and forces me in the back of a car, and the next thing I know, I'm in the trailer of an 18-wheeler semi-truck. That's the story. I mean, it's just so weird. People are weird.
Remember, wasn't it in your neck of the woods where people were lying about somebody robbing them at the Hobby Lobby or something? Wasn't there some woman?
That was right in Petaluma. This woman, but we think she did this for clicks on her social media. This woman is in the Michaels. We don't have a Hobby Lobby here.
How dare I?
It's a little too conservative for us. We don't have that here. So she's in Michaels, and she sees this Latino couple next to her, and she's, for some reason, making up the story that they're talking about her kids and that they're going to kidnap her kids. And then she concocts this wild story of, in the parking lot, they tried to grab my baby stroller. So first of all, I happen to know the people that she accused.
Right.
They're parents at my kid's school, and they have like 6 kids. And I'm telling you, somebody with 6 kids isn't looking for more.
Yeah.
They don't want your baby. They're like, we're done.
Keep your kids. Thank you.
Yeah. And so they put the couple's picture up, and of course everyone knows the couple in town because I think the dad's a UPS driver, or the mom was active in the, volunteering in school, whatever. So everyone's like, we know these people. They're not kidnappers. Immediately the story calls into question. Actually, I think people were calling them like, your picture's on the news. And they call the police, and they're like, that's us. We didn't do it. So this trial finally held, and this woman was found liable for filing a false police report, and I think she went to jail only for 3 months. But in this case, they thought it was racism, that she pointed at them because they were Latino.
Of course.
Right? And so she was being racist to get clicks on her social media. Yeah.
I mean, she's going to get clicks all right. She ain't going to get the kind of clicks that she's probably after, though, because I mean, it's awful to do something. And when it's so blatantly racist, right? It's like, it was like a Mexican family that did this. It's like, are you serious right now? Are you serious?
So the brown people are out to get me.
Yeah, exactly. The brown people are out to get me, and I'm going to blame them, and everyone's going to believe me because they're a brown family. That's just awful.
Her name is Katie Sorensen.
There you go. Yeah. Call her out. Yeah. Call her out.
That's right.
There you go.
I am. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's move on. Before we go to Kim's news, I do have a couple of different types of stories. One's a really feel-good story. It's one of those stories, Kim, that when I was watching the news this morning, and I worked out this morning, so I should not have felt lazy.
Look at you.
I should not have felt lazy. But geez Louise, when I saw this guy doing what he was doing, that's like, okay, you sit on your ass way too much. Okay. Look at this guy right here. 93-year-old man comes the oldest to hike Half Dome.
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh my God. I'm like,
this is it. This is the moment 93-year-old Everett Kalin, a grandfather from Oakland, became.
Hold on. I have a freaking thing playing behind it. But anyways, he's a 93-year-old man. He climbed Half Dome. He's the youngest person to ever do it. Or pardon me, the oldest person to ever hike Half Dome. He and his son and 19-year-old granddaughter, Sydney, climbed the iconic structure yesterday. Sydney shared it on TikTok. Okay. Now, I don't know about you. Have you ever done a Half Dome, Kim?
I have gotten up to
You've done better than me. Okay. I got
I
this,
didn't go all the way. I got like not even there. I got like part away and then that's it.
No,
I
I
got
wouldn't
to like
even
the
do
hiking
that.
part.
I
And
would
like
not
the
even do
climbing
that.
part. No, yeah.
Not at all. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here's the video of the guy.
This is it.
Look at him.
This
Look
is
at
the
him.
moment 93-year-old Everett Kalin, a grandfather from Oakland, became the oldest known hiker
Wow.
to summit Yosemite's Half
He
Dome.
made it look easy.
Everett tackled the mountain Tuesday with his son John and 19-year-old granddaughter Sydney, who documented the
guy.
trip on her cell phone. This is it. Video that has now gone viral on TikTok shows Everett's final steps to the top as his son holds his hand.
Slowly but surely, we got up near the top. And
He
when
looks
we
good.
finally did get to the top, that was just a thrill. That was a great thrill. And I think the three of us found a rock and sat on it and cried a little.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of, I mean, I'm telling you, and Greg, Half Dome is in Tahoe. Yosemite,
Yes,
pardon me.
Yosemite, yeah.
Yosemite. But yeah, I've driven past it. I've taken pictures of it. I am not a hiker. There's some funny like social media memes and videos where people like, it's always like, is it over yet? And then they get to like, oh, this is really cool. That effort to get to like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is really beautiful. This is really cool is not enough for me to start walking. It just isn't. I am just not a hiker. And I used to be a camp counselor where I used to have to lead some of these hikes in my teenage years. And I remember I would be so pissed every single time I was scheduled to do one. And I'm just not. So for this 93-year-old guy to do something like this, and he looked good.
Really good.
He looks really good because he's probably been hiking all of his life.
Yeah.
Amy says he walked it himself, even trained by walking around Lake Merritt 5 times a day.
That's cool. Yeah.
I mean, I'm lazy. That's all I'm going to say. I worked out this morning, but I'm lazy. Eric's like, oh, sure. But he went up the easy way. Now, if he'd climbed the face. Okay. Thank you for clarifying this because I thought that to go up Half Dome, you were like gripping the rock on the way up. I've never done it though. So is there really 2 ways? You're talking about just like straight up the side. But I thought it was really like you were leaning into the rock to do it. He was standing up straight. So maybe
they have like a bar, like a rail.
Yeah, but I still thought it was.
I didn't get to that point. So I don't know. I'm like, no. Yeah.
My husband got to the cables. A bunch of our friends went up. But by that point, they did it all wrong. They left it like noon when you're supposed to like leave in the morning. Like people were coming back down when they were still going up. They waited way too long. But I just love that story. It did make me feel good. And again, keep moving in your younger years because you too can look like that guy. And then finally, here's a feel good story, but I'm just going to brace you for it. It's really sad. Like I get like kind of choked up watching it because there was a death. Okay. But if you're going to go out in life, in my opinion, go out a hero, which is exactly what this kid Kai went out doing. I just, you can only imagine the aunt there was the woman that was talking, and just hearing that it's the aunt and not the parents always gets me choked up because you can only imagine how the parents are feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like it gets me all like emotional. And I totally am getting emotional because he's a young kid, you know what I mean? And he went out saving these people. And I don't know. I love, in all the stories that we do where people are so freaking negative and they lie and they cheat and they scam people.
Yeah.
You have people like this. And, he posted on his social media, just, you can be a good person. We don't need to be so polarized and hate each other over every single thing. And I know that we could disagree. I see your guys' disagreements in the comments when we do the show. But I don't know. I wanted to put a little attention on that story because it really got to me. how you raise your kids, and wanting to be there for other people, even if you don't even know them. And so our heart goes out to the family. But yeah, and it is dangerous also, mountain
Did
biking
he
in the heat, hiking in that heat. It's too
did he
much.
die of heat exhaustion? Is that what
Yeah,
happened to him?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think they weren't able to revive him, and he got separated from his partner, and it sucks that he wasn't able to be rescued, right? And he
Yeah.
helped rescue all those other people. Okay, we're going to do a couple of headlines. Then we're going to talk about the Berkeley license plate reader idea. It's going to go before the Berkeley City Council this evening. Do you think that it's time to kind of give the technology some of the jobs that police would do, or even the technology that's on their cars? So right now, many police officer vehicles have license plate readers, automatic ones, but they're driving around and that's how they spot them, right? So it actually takes a police officer driving around to find these possible stolen cars. This would be fixed. So everybody, whether you've stolen your car or not, would get their license plate scanned and put into the system to see if the car is stolen.
They have that in Tiburon, I think.
Yeah.
There's a license plate reader, and there's only one way in and one way out. So they know everybody who's coming in
Everybody
and
that comes in.
everyone who's going. Yeah.
And so I want you to know how you feel about it. I mean, for me personally, I feel my knee-jerk reaction is I'm not doing anything wrong. My car isn't stolen. So why do I care? On the other hand, there's a lot of people talking about our civil liberties. And, it's always that slippery slope is that you give this up and then you give that up. Where do you fall on that line? Let me know in the comments. Please make sure that you click that thumbs up button. We'll talk about all that and more right after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Oh, let's start with Mr. DeSantis. Why don't we? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is not hurt after being involved in a car accident in Tennessee this morning. Crash happened while the Republican presidential candidate was traveling to an event in Chattanooga. His campaign said DeSantis and his team did not suffer any injuries. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is raising the possibility of an impeachment inquiry against President Biden. McCarthy told Fox News host Sean Hannity, Republican investigations into the Biden family's business dealings are rising to the level of an impeachment inquiry, but he stopped short of saying he would formally open one. The White House criticized McCarthy's comments, accusing House Republicans of failing to focus on real issues affecting Americans. There's this man. That's kind of a creepy look on his face, I'll say that. He is now being sentenced in his connection with his involvement in January 6th. 4 years in prison for his role in the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Pete Stager reportedly beat a police officer with a flagpole as the officer was being dragged down the Capitol steps. Yeah, but that wasn't a violent incident. In a video taken that day, Stager said death is the remedy for every single one of those Capitol law enforcement officers.
Oh, he's
Well,
sane.
this week, the judge sentenced him to more than 4 years in prison after he took full responsibility for his actions.
Good.
So there you have it. City of San Jose making a dent in taking dangerous drugs off the streets. Police made $1 million bust less than 2 weeks ago at a home. They found 28,000 Adderall pills, 28,000, 1,000 fentanyl pills, 30 pounds rather, just 30 pounds, no thousand, of marijuana, cocaine, meth, guns, and cash. Well, that's quite a haul. Police say, well, that's one less child overdose, one less family grieving. 2 suspects are behind bars. Mayor hoping even bigger crackdowns will happen once he can increase staffing in San Jose for the police department. Like most police departments, they're facing staffing shortages.
They
so,
are. And I would I was just reading an article about how our mayor, my mayor, Matt Mahan, was getting criticized for being gruff with his staff and making them work long hours. Then other people are saying, you're in politics. You're a political staffer. Long hours come with the job. I found it interesting. I wasn't a Mahan supporter.
Yeah.
I was supporting Cindy Chavez. Not that I didn't like Mahan's platform. I just thought that he was a newbie. I'm encouraged a bit from at least the beginning, efforts Let's see if it pans out, right? Regarding homelessness, building things quicker, it actually has to happen. You could set the wheels in motion, but they have to be completed. But I'm liking him. But I have felt that way about past mayors as well, and they all disappoint me. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's always nice to, be pleasantly surprised,
Yes,
right?
exactly. At
There you
first,
go.
I am pleasantly surprised. Exactly.
Spotify, the cost, the premium subscription cost at Spotify going up. The
Boo.
music streaming service announced a premium individual subscription will now cost you $10.99 a month. It's an increase of $1. The premium duo subscription.
No, don't say it like that. Don't you dare say it's just $1.
It's
What
$1.
the hell? Now, I would be willing if they would look at me going my soapbox right now. Look, where's my
Another
dollar going?
at it.
Where
I
is
don't
my
know.
dollar going? Where is it going to the artist? Because they get paid crap. They get pennies. Where is this dollar going? Do not tell me that you need my dollar. They're just, it's inflation. Inflation from what? I always find it kind of it's not as if Spotify is like Netflix where you're
Right.
paying for the creation of movies and TV shows. You're taking people's music and you're streaming it. I know there's a cost to that. I don't like it. I don't want to pay an extra $1.
They're looking for more, and more. Everybody wants everything, right? So the premium individual subscription, $10.99 a month. The premium duo subscription, $2. They're jumping that one to $14.99 a month. And the premium family will cost $16.99 a month. The premium student subscriptions will see an increase of $1 to $5.99.
Are you a Spotify subscriber?
I think my family has Spotify, but I don't use it.
Well, shoot, if you're paying for it, you should. So I pay for it because my daughter wanted it. And but I don't understand. Maybe you guys can explain because I'm not I use Spotify when I go to the gym and then my daughter puts it on whenever we're in the car. She takes control. Why would you need a family one though? Just to kind of save your albums or something?
Maybe everybody has their different playlist. I don't know how it works because I'm not on it.
Yeah. If anybody is why would I pay for a family plan? Why wouldn't we just all share the same one and just search for the song that you want to listen to? Unless there's some sort of,
Yeah.
With it, let me know because I would take the cheapest plan and that's it.
You know who's on Spotify?
We are.
Yes, we are on Spotify as our podcast. So we're on if you didn't know, we're not only here on YouTube.
Yes.
After the show is over, the sound is taken and put on all these podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google.
We could be in your ear. Your ear
That's
holes.
right. So that you can download your favorite podcast, the Nikki Medoro Show, and then just carry us along in the car and listen to us through your stereo like old times. So there you go.
Exactly. Look at that.
There is new research that shows that people with cognitive decline continue to get behind the wheel.
Oh yeah,
University of Michigan study looked at 600 older adults older than 65 in Texas. It found more than 60% with cognitive impairment were still driving regularly.
Does that surprise you at all? I mean, you have to pull somebody's keys from them, right?
Yeah.
Unless a doctor steps in or something like that. I don't know how that works.
I mean, maybe people give up their keys voluntarily if they've been involved in an accident.
They have
or something
cognitive
like
decline, Kim. I mean, they're not going to come to this on their
man.
own, perhaps. You know what I mean?
Well, let me tell you this. The California DMV, speaking of driving, says it's working on rolling out mobile driver's licenses and hopes to officially launch the program by the end of the year. So it's testing a digital license that is now accepted at some liquor stores and airports. The DMV spokesperson, Anita Gore, says the pilot program has 500 participants. She says it'll be available in a DMV wallet on your smartphone, and it's a companion identification to your physical card, which you'll still need to carry because not everyone accepts the mobile license just yet.
Okay.
It's an official mobile license you keep on your mobile phone.
But I still need my driver's license on me.
Well, for now, but maybe if you are pulled over and all you have is your cell phone with a mobile license on it, maybe the officer will take that.
That's interesting because sometimes
in time.
sometimes when I go to the gym, I don't want to bring my entire wallet with me because I bring a fanny pack. I don't wear it, but I don't want to bring a purse into the gym with me, but I want to keep my keys and everything on me. So I put it in a fanny pack, and I hate bringing my wallet with me because just in case somebody snags my stuff, which it's always near me anyway. But I always am like, I'll leave your wallet at home. Oh, I can need my driver's license. God forbid I get pulled over. And you need it. It's a traffic violation if you don't have your driver's license on you. So yeah, might make it easier. There you go.
Might is a possibility, right?
Yeah.
A couple more stories for you.
Okay.
An antitrust lawsuit in the UK is seeking more than $1 billion in damages from Apple. The suit, brought on by developers, accuses Apple of charging an anti-competitive 30% fee to app developers for in-app sales. The developers also claim consumers are missing out on app innovation because Apple's fees eat into research and development.
I can imagine that. Absolutely.
Speaking of Apple, they are reportedly planning to raise the price of the iPhone Pro. Everybody wants more, I'm telling you. According to Bloomberg, the price hike is being considered for this fall. Currently, the iPhone Pro has a starting price tag of $999, with the Max model going for $1,099. So don't know how much they want to raise the price, but even more.
Everyone wants your last dollar. Always want your last dollar. There you go.
And there is a push to legalize jaywalking in New York City. Councilwoman Mercedes Narcissa is sponsoring legislation that would allow pedestrians to legally cross the streets at any area they want outside the crosswalk. Council members in favor tell the New York Post this will end bias enforcement by cops against Blacks and Latinos for jaywalking. Critics say the bill would go against measures aimed at reducing traffic fatalities in New York City. So,
I mean, they do it anyway. I mean, the last time I went to New York, jaywalking seemed to be the norm. And honestly, and I'm making a huge, broad statement right here, it was usually during rush hour traffic, right? Like traffic's not moving. And so people were just crossing, or there's nobody on the street. Now, how do I feel about jaywalking? I feel like obviously I don't think that you should jaywalk if there's cars on the road. Like if it's standstill traffic, that's even more dangerous in my opinion because people are frustrated. They're trying to weave in and out or whatever. But if it's 3:00 in the freaking morning and you want to cross the street to get to your car or apartment or something, and there's nobody around, they can cross the street. That's
although I have to say that if I ever see a story, read a story about a person being hit, if they were in the crosswalk, I'm like, oh, that's bad. It wasn't their fault at all. Like the cars should always slow at a crosswalk, even if they have the green light, right? You're always looking for someone in the crosswalk. So, when I hear someone outside of a crosswalk, it's not that I don't feel as sorry for them, but I feel like,
you were outside the crosswalk. That's what happens. The little mom boys is being like, well, you should have just walked the 10 feet and you wouldn't have been hit by a car.
If you were in the crosswalk, that wouldn't have happened.
Well, that happened to me because at Station X, there's the parking meters right across where the subway used to be. Yeah. And I remember when I had my knee surgery, which is just really terrible. I wore this, obviously I was on crutches and I had this huge knee cast. And I would park, but it'd be on the other side of the street than the door. And the door was right there. Now I'm on crutches and my leg is I didn't want to walk again, 100 feet across the thing and then back down when I could just kind of hobble my ass across real quick. I was hobbling my ass across real quick. So just to let you know that that's exactly what I was doing.
You were doing it.
I was doing it. The
Nikki Medoro Show is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you to support the show. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. You got the Patreon link and the PayPal link. Of course, the super chat is live here on the Nikki Medoro Show, and we appreciate you. I'm Kim
McAllister. Look who donated. Do you see who donated? Andreas from Greece.
Yes, he's back. He's back. He's still in Greece. He's on the island of Naxos.
Nice.
I think, if I'm saying it right. Yeah, he's back. I know it's exciting to see his name pop up. Hi, Andreas.
He donated $20, not once, but of course twice, because he is such a huge supporter of the show. So if you want to look for the $, that's the super chat. You could donate during the live show or the replay. And again, TheNikkiMedoroShow.com is where our Patreon link is. And please consider signing up for a monthly donation, a one-time monthly donation. And while you're on your computer, of course, make sure you subscribe to the afterparty.live. That's Kim McAllister and John Daly show that's going to happen 1 week from today. She needs 1,000 subscribers. She is quickly heading there, but we need it to happen so she can go live a week from today, August 1st. And so go to theafterparty.live. That is where you subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, and it's going to be a damn good time. This show is going to start at 9, and we're going to go all the way still till 2 o'clock in the
Put the link in the chat. So just click on the link and click subscribe, and thank you because I really need your help.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so we were talking about jaywalking. I understand that cops are busy. They're short-staffed, especially in places like Berkeley, okay? I'm going to play you a little bit of a news report from our friends at KTVU, but as it's playing, are you concerned about your civil liberties in this way? Are you concerned that it's just more of an erosion of... Now, it's not privacy, because if you're in public, you've given up the assumption of privacy, right? Mm-hmm. But that's your license plate. And some people have argued, if a police officer, if a law enforcement is taking, let's just say, my license plate number and identifying me in that way, that is unfair. I haven't committed a crime. I shouldn't have any sort of interaction with law enforcement. Do you agree with that? Now, again, this is from KTVU. Tonight, the Berkeley City Council will be debating whether to allow fixed license plate readers.
The city of Berkeley's crime data, auto thefts are up 94% from a year ago in the city, with more than 126 vehicles reported stolen so far this year. Now, Berkeley's police say that if they had license plate reader technology, they could potentially stop some of the people driving around those stolen vehicles. Other groups, though, within the city aren't convinced that the technology really works. Now, here's how license plate reader cameras work. They scan the license plates of every car that drives by, and if the plate is registered to a car that's been reported as stolen or a vehicle connected to a serious crime, then police get an alert and can stop and pull over that car. The police department and city manager here in Berkeley are recommending that the city install 52 of these cameras to streetlights, lampposts, roadways, and other fixtures across the city. In a letter to the council last month, the city manager says the city of Vacaville reported a more than 30% drop in auto theft after installing cameras there. But members of Berkeley's Police Accountability Board plan to recommend tonight that the city council does not adopt this technology yet. They're concerned about privacy, civil liberties violations, and say they need more proof that it will actually reduce crime.
Okay, now I get the civil liberties, but when you have seen other cities implement it and see, what did they say, like a 30% reduction in auto thefts, that's huge. The real concern that I have is the assumption that there'll be enough cops to actually respond to all the alerts that are given by the license plate readers, right, to justify them scanning every single car that passes by its fixed location. That's my concern. So I understand, the civil liberties argument. And again, should it have to be a police officer that catches you? Or is it okay that we use technology in this way? I don't know how soon we're going to get back to law enforcement levels that are adequate for cities of Berkeley size, San Jose size, other city sizes, right? Cops are leaving for a variety of reasons. Obviously, the cost of living, the wages, politics, right? The political divide regarding law enforcement and, reimagining policing and what have you. This is a very expensive area to live in as well. And some people just don't want to deal with it. Some people want to live in smaller towns and police smaller towns with smaller problems, I guess. So we do, I think, need to find ways of utilizing technology in a smart way. But do you think this, using fixed license plate readers, is a smart way of using the technology?
I understand privacy concerns, but don't you also feel like when you're on the street, you're kind of in a public area anyway?
Absolutely. But they're not just taking your image, they're calculating, they're scanning and putting it in a database. It's more than just
they know who you are, they know your address, they know your height, your weight, your ethnicity, your hair color, your eye color, everything. Yeah.
So, would you be okay with it? How would you vote if you were on the Berkeley City Council? Now, again, you just heard that report from KTVU. they're going to recommend this committee to not pass it because they want more research. Would you agree with that more research needs to be done, or is the results of other cities and towns enough for you? Karen writes in, there have been traffic cameras in Europe for many decades. What's the big deal? They've been proven to cut down on traffic scofflaws. Good point. I think it has to do with the fact of how is this information going to be used? Louis says they're only scanning license plates, not taking any pictures of the drivers.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Nick's response to Wes, they'll save the data because that'll be another way to monetize it. Because Wes was saying, just get rid of the information after it's been proven that it's not a stolen car. There's also a trust involved in it, right? I mean, we're trusting the fact that they are not going to save the data if that's what they're saying. We're trusting that the data is not going to get hacked or it's not going to be used or monetized in a way that we did not agree to. Yeah, and I get it. It's for the car and not the people. Although, I could also imagine situations in which you don't know that the car that you're driving in may be stolen, right? What if you borrow somebody's car?
I would vote. How would you vote?
Cautiously, I would approve it.
Yep.
But I was also going to add this whole caveat of you've heard of people swapping license plates, right? So what if this is my car and somebody's taken my back license plate off? That happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not rare. It happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just kind of feel like at a point in history, in our modern history right now, where law enforcement is dwindling, it's a job that not a lot of people, or at least in a quick enough fashion, are joining. We do need to become more comfortable with introducing technology in this way. Lady Beatrice says, as long as they're not invading privacy, I think it might be a great help for the lack of staffing. I guess the whole invading privacy is up for debate, right? Some people might think it is an invasion of privacy. Mm-hmm. Dave says it's a tough pill to swallow, but your license plate does not belong to you. It belongs to the state. I don't like the idea at all, but I agree with it. Interesting. Yeah. I like the mixed feelings about it. I think I have the same type of attitude as Dave. Like, do I wish that I could just drive around and not think that my license plate and hence my identity, right? If it's registered to me,
yeah,
you know who owns the car.
Yeah.
Do I wish that it wasn't so out there all the time? Yes. But at the same time, we can't expect police to be everywhere. They can't be everywhere. It's just like, when stores get shoplifted. Where were the cops? Well, not there, obviously. They were patrolling some other area because there's only so many of them. Karen says Berkeley jumps the gun too soon, making decisions, yelling civil rights without looking at the technology. Too many assumptions before researching. Well, they're trying to slow it down. I don't know if it's a flat out no, but they want more evidence. But there is evidence. Other towns and cities have used it. So is it just evidence that they like? I don't know. It just seems we can make it happen, but we want more evidence that's going to come from somewhere that we feel more comfortable. I do understand that we have a troll that has been banned from the show, so everybody can stop yelling at downtime. Okay. I thank all of you for weighing in on it. I do think that they should pass it, though, just to kind of put a point on it. I do think that they should. I think it's going to help police officers. I think like a lot of things nowadays, we have to use our resources in a smart way because it's handling. And we do have technology to kind of take the place of certain things, and we should use it. Big thank you to Beth Farmer for the $20 donation. Writing in, glad to see Andres is back. Looking forward to party a week from today. Beth, we're very excited for you to join Kim and John Daly and all of us, the whole crew. Myself, Mark Thompson, Kim, and John Daly. It all kicks off 9:00 in the morning Pacific time a week from today on August 1st. It's going to be quite the adjustments, I think, especially for my ass.
It'll be for me too.
Bright and cheery and ready to go at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. is usually like, okay, I'm in this chair working. Now I got to be on air, but I got it. We're going to make it happen. Yeah. It was quite an adjustment when I got the morning show on KGO as well. And Look how we did there. Okay. I'm going to tease this story and then Kim's going to do some news and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay. Another one of those stories where I don't know how I fully feel about it because I feel like where you are in life, your socioeconomic place, your literal address can be a huge factor in how you feel about this. How do you guys feel about school vouchers? Okay. Because I don't know if you know this, but Arizona is basically under this huge experiment of universal school vouchers. So this was last year that it was approved by their legislature, their state legislature. It's Republican controlled. The school voucher program is a huge Republican issue that they tried to spread. But Arizona became the first state to make every student, even if you're rich, like richy rich, eligible for a school voucher, which on average is worth about $7,200 per student each year. Now, the state deposits the money into this education savings account for parents. It can be used for private school and even homeschooling, which is huge in my opinion. If the student was enrolled in public school, the money then follows the student. And if the student was being privately educated, the voucher is then a new cost to the state. Since launching in September, it has grown, this voucher program, from about 12,000 students to more than 59,000. State education officials estimate that the enrollment can grow to 100,000 by next summer because, of course, you're giving people money for school, which, again, I'm just going to add this too, and we'll take a quick break. It's so awesome that a Republican state legislature wants to give taxpayer money for education. Have no problem with this, but God forbid we forget student loans. Make it make sense to me, okay? Make it make sense. But anyways, so this is the school voucher program. I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about this? Do you believe in the school voucher idea? How would you use school voucher money? Would you put it towards your public school? Would you put it towards private school? Would you put it towards homeschooling? And is this an idea that should spread? Because I think that there's a true consequence, not just for public schools, but private schools as well. Because there may be some things that you may not know about private education that may change how you feel about whether or not a student is necessarily getting the best education. That's all coming up after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
We're going to Texas, first of all. A federal judge striking down the Biden administration's new rules for asylum seekers at the southern border. The judge ruling against the new rule that allows immigration authorities to deny asylum to migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border if they didn't first apply online or seek protection in a country they passed through. The judge put the ruling on hold for 14 days for an expected appeal. President Biden, let's talk about President Biden for a moment. He today is pushing insurers to improve access to mental health care for Americans. The president announcing a proposed rule today to strengthen requirements so health insurers cover behavioral health at the same level as physical health. The rule is expected to be published in the Federal Register next week. It would then enter a 60-day public comment period before taking effect. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to resume the interest rate hikes after hitting pause last month. The central bank is meeting in Washington, D.C. today and tomorrow, and a decision will be announced Wednesday afternoon. Voters in Ohio set to decide whether to legalize and protect abortion rights. The Ohio Secretary of State announcing Ohioans United for Reproductive Rights submitted enough valid signatures to place a constitutional amendment proposal on November's ballot. The amendment states every individual has a right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions. The Barbenheimer craze, I should say, really shows absolutely no sign of slowing down. We're Barbenheimer nutso. Greta Gerwig's Barbie earned $26.1 million at the domestic box office on Monday alone, marking a new record for the biggest Monday box office total in Warner Brothers history. Meanwhile, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer took $12.6 million in on Monday. I'm telling you, crazy. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is supporting his fellow actors in the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike. Variety reports The Rock made a 7-figure donation to SAG-AFTRA's foundation, the largest donation they have ever received from someone at one time, and the money will help thousands of actors receive financial assistance. So, very nice thing for The Rock to do. Really sweet. Yeah, that's it. This show is crowdfunded, and we rely on you to help us keep the lights on. You can check us out at The Nikki Medoro Show, MEDORO, theNikkiMedoroShow.com, and you can check out the PayPal, and Patreon links there. I'm
Perfect.
Kim McAllister. This is The Nikki Medoro Show.
I was reading comments that are already coming in regarding this school voucher program. I knew people were going to have some strong opinions about this. Okay, so to recap real quickly, Arizona, right now, in Arizona, it started in September. Parents can get, on average, $7,200 in a school voucher. And it could be used for private education. It can be used for homeschooling. The program has grown very, very quickly. Not surprising. You tell people, I'm going to give you, on average, $7,200 that you could put towards your child's education. You don't think people are going to jump at the chance? Of course they are. And I'll say this. I think people will jump at it even if they didn't particularly dislike the school that their child was in. But I feel it's always, could the grass be greener at another school or what have you?
Does it seem like a money grab to you for private school institutions and religious institutions?
Well, I'm glad that you brought up religious institutions because this money can also be used at religious institutions, which would be state taxpayer money going to religious institutions. So how do you feel about that? Now, there are some problematic headlines surrounding this growing Arizona school voucher program. One is today, the head of the scholarship account program, this whole thing, has stepped down. She says she's grateful to have the opportunity to get the program on track, but it's time for her to move on. I'm just thinking they underestimated it. Maybe the job is a little bit bigger than the woman thought that it would be. I don't know. But you would think that if you're overseeing such a huge program, you'd stick with it for more than a year. But I don't want to speculate. She just put a request on Twitter. This is an even more serious problem. Arizona's Attorney General, Chris Mays, is warning parents that pulling their kids out of public schools to take advantage of the universal voucher program could make them the victim of bias with no legal recourse. May said various state and federal laws prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, religion, national origin, and sex, but they may not apply in private and parochial schools. And so if you feel that this is happening, you wouldn't be able to sue them, of course. Now, I will be transparent. Mays does not like universal vouchers, is an opponent of it. Made specific mention of federal laws that guarantee students with disabilities a free and appropriate education. She said these two do not protect students in private schools. Other people are saying that she has it wrong, that, basically these schools are going to do the right thing. Now, one person, the state schools chief, Tom Horn, acknowledged that unlike public schools, private schools are not required to accept any student. They get to decide.
Yep.
So again, when you compare public schools to private schools, you are literally comparing apples to oranges. You are comparing the students that the private schools want to have versus public schools that get every child within their district. You cannot have an equal comparison. Oh, all those kids are getting better education. Look at their scores. Well, their population isn't diluted with people that may have all these other issues that still need to get an education.
So your kid has autism. Your kid has ADHD. Your kid has, pick the the situation that your child is finding themselves in.
Right.
The state of California, and I don't know how it works in Arizona, the state of California is required to provide services for people. And that costs money. You have to have specialists. You have to have people that are, that are educated, that can handle kids, that can give them the help that they need. Not so in private schools. You apply and your kid has any of the mentioned, issues. They can say, you know what, we just don't really have a reading specialist, or we don't really have the wherewithal.
They just say, no, you're not accepted. There's no guarantee. Yeah.
No, and they don't have to accept you, and off you go. I think
Exactly.
we're doing a disservice if we take money away from public schools. Absolutely. In
Yeah.
addition, I think that I worry about the whole giving it to homeschooling people as well. My fear is, and I know this isn't the majority of homeschoolers, there's going to be some family who wants the money, but they don't spend it on the education for the kid.
And what kind of education are we talking about here? Because again, private schools and obviously, I don't believe homeschools have to either. There's no state testing required for private schools. It's not a requirement for them.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know what kind of education, and I don't want to go to the deep end, but like Kim said, they could be collecting the money and running a cult for all you know. You don't know.
Well, they could, I think unless you have to submit receipts saying we took our child on this educational field trip, or we bought educational materials, or we bought books, or we bought, counting abacus, or whatever it is,
right,
then you shouldn't give the money to people, because I think a lot of people will get a check for whatever it is, $7,400, and go, well, I don't really have to spend everything on my kid. What if I just bought a couple books, and then the rest we could really use to, pay the rent?
Exactly.
Or take a family trip to Disneyland, or whatever it might
per
be.
Student. It's per student. Now, according to this article, charters, private schools, and homeschool parents are not generally required to administer state tests or report student outcomes. I also feel this, and this is just me talking. When you pay for something, I feel like you're invested in it, so you think that you're getting something that's better than somebody else. Now, I understand if you live in and I don't want to be stereotypical here, but if you live in a socio-disadvantaged neighborhood, right, and we know that not a lot of money is going into the schools, if we know that there's not a lot of parent participation because generally in this neighborhood, parents work one or two jobs, you can make assumptions about how well the school is going to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all of those kids can then up and move to another private school farther away. Maybe the parents can't take them there. Some kids walk their own self to school because their parents are already at work. Now there's a private school, 4 miles away, and that's too far for the kid to go by themselves. So now they have to go to the public school that is losing funding because of how our funding structure is set up in this country with butts and seats, which is stupid in my opinion. But it just seems to me that it's just going to hurt the public school system even more. And there is no guarantee that your private school is actually giving a better education. One of it could be because you believe you are, because you're paying for it. And I'm not saying I have received a private education. You guys know this. I totally did. My first interaction with the public school system is through my own children, but I'm involved in my kids' school. I'm able to do that. Again, that's a point of privilege, though, that not every parent has.
Yeah.
Let me go through some of the comments because a lot of you are weighing in on this. Beth says vouchers are a way for parents to send their kids to religious schools, so the taxpayer is subsidizing religion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gordon says private schools do a better job preparing students for college. Now, again, that could or could not happen. The results that you're seeing is based on a skewed number of students because these are students that school chose to have as part of its student body.
Yeah, if you pick all the kids that get the A's, then of course that you're going to have, your tests are going to be better or whatever. Having said that, though, there is something to the value of that Catholic school education. Like they don't mess around with the touchy-feely stuff. They're like, here's what you will learn.
Some people would disagree about the touchy-feely part, though, Kim.
It's true, but here's the standards, and you either meet the standards or you're out. And so it's more competitive, and you're expected to learn. And it's it's a little less, I don't know, competitive maybe than a public school. I don't know.
Well, I went to parochial school. I went to Catholic school my whole entire life. I don't know I can't speak of a difference because I didn't even do like elementary in one and then it was all parochial school. Now I will agree that from my stance, they weren't messing around. I would also agree that not every student was at the same level.
Right.
But they were at a level of obviously being able to pay. I know there were some scholarships offered, but able to pay. Parent participation a lot of times is required as part of enrollment. You need to donate a certain number of hours per school year, which it makes the parents involved, all these sorts of things. Privilege on top of privilege on top of privilege, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying privilege is necessarily bad, but let's not act like we're all on the same playing field, that this public school down the street just isn't picking itself up from its bootstraps, to use a phrase. It's that it takes everybody and educates everybody that goes through its doors. Private schools do not.
And I think, if you are sending your kid to a private school as your parents did, you're making a choice.
Yes. And they wanted me to have a religious education, which that was the main driver.
You make the choice there and you do that, and you know that it's going to cost you. And maybe as you're writing the check every month, you grumble, I wish my taxes were paying for my kid's education.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
you made the choice. And I think it's really important to have a free public education system for everyone. And if we start taking money away from schools that are already in trouble, we already can't find enough teachers. We're already seeing schools lose money because of a lack of enrollment. Then we're going to see even more school closures, and people are going to be even more upset. We have to support public schools, and that doesn't mean taking money away.
I do think that they need to change how public schools are funded. I think they need to make it more equitable. I think that if you, obviously, if you're going to base it on property tax revenues, people that live in richer areas are getting more money automatically. Obviously, it makes sense. It's math, people. Yeah. I also firmly believe in a public education system. I know there's some in the comments that do not. If you buy a home or live in a neighborhood, you should be invested in that neighborhood. And that means being invested in the school within your neighborhood. If everybody took the money that they were choosing to spend on a private education and actually put that towards public schools, teacher pay, things like that, I could imagine the kind of turnaround we can get at some of these schools. Let's see. Deidre writes in, she agrees with Gordon, that says private schools do a better job preparing students for college. She says, I agree. I had one kid who went to St. Mary's in Berkeley and one who went to El Cerrito High. The St. Mary's kid was better educated at a very expensive cost. I mean, that's an anecdotal story, of course. And Lori says we can watch the results of the Arizona experiment. Let's make some predictions, shall we? The program eventually is going to become extremely expensive as more people not only take part in the voucher system because either it's going to get more expensive or they're going to put some more rules, because right now it's universal, even the rich people. And we've said this before, and I'll say it again. Rich people stay rich by not spending money they don't need to spend. And I can imagine wealthy people will take advantage of this, because why not? They pay taxes. Why not? I'm not going to criticize somebody that has the means to pay for something, not paying for something that's given to them for free. And two, how many people are moving to Arizona? Oh my God. The population's going to grow. And with that, the population within schools. And with that, the cost of the voucher program. And with that, higher taxes. And then guess who's going to get blamed for it? Us Californians, because we get blamed for freaking everything in this world. Deidre says, my kid's private elementary school had to pass a Catholic school accreditation process every 5 years. Ooh, I never had to do that. What is that?
The schools they check the school to make sure it's teaching.
I was thinking that the kid had to take a test to be in the school. And I was like, what is that? Oh yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And she says, as a former public school teacher who sent her kids to private school, I abhor vouchers. Interesting. Deidre, hold on. I want to ask a question. If you can add it to the comments. Why do you abhor vouchers? Because you're a former public school teacher, so I'm assuming you believe in the public school system, or did. Why did you choose to send your kids to private school? Was it religious based and you wanted them to have a religious education, which I totally get? Or was it something else? And why do you abhor the vouchers? And I'm not going to make a judgment, but is it because you had to pay for it, right? Like if I have to pay for it, I made that commitment. I not only pay for my kids' private education, I'm also paying the taxes for a public education. So you're kind of paying it on both ends, which was my dad's thing that he would always complain about.
So
but,
my mom was a teacher for more than 30 years at a public school in Novato.
Okay.
And we've had the conversation about school vouchers before. And she says it's a way to give money to religious-based schools and take away money from public schools.
Yeah.
It puts teachers' jobs in jeopardy. It puts the quality of education in jeopardy, and schools struggle to fund. I mean, how many times does the PTA have to say, hey, we really need you to donate. We really need you to come help at this event where we're trying to raise money. Schools are trying to raise money. This is not an easy street for them. So then to have people leave public schools and take all that money with them, that's going to be a huge hit for public schools and for teachers. I can see exactly why, if she was a public school teacher, she would be against the vouchers.
Yeah, exactly. And I get that. But then it's also, if it wasn't for the religious base, which I'm assuming it was, what was the draw to a private education? Randy says, when my son graduated from MIDI in 2015, half of the graduating seniors had GPAs over 4.0 from taking AP classes. I mean, and Randy, yes, but that's not a surprising statistic because MIDI gets to choose who goes to MIDI. That's my point regarding comparing the preparation or college prep from a high school like MIDI that gets to pick and choose who goes to the school versus a public high school that has to take everybody. I mean, it's just an assumption. I'm not saying they're not getting a good education. I know many people went to MIDI. Many of my daughter's friends are going to MIDI. I'm not saying it's not a good school. It is, but you can't compare MIDI to another private high school, right? Compare MIDI, I mean, it's not all boys, but to Bellarmine or another high school in which people have to pay to send their children and the school gets to choose who goes to the school. That's a fairer, in my opinion, comparison. My Randy went on to say my kids went to public K through 8 schools. Okay. They went to one of the public charter schools in the district and parent participation was required. Yep. I think parent participation, is a given. You're involved in your child's education. You're volunteering at the school. The teachers. That's always going to be a bonus. Absolutely. Harry asks, when it comes to student success, which is more important, teachers or parental involvement? Ooh.
That's a good question. I put that one up because I thought,
that is good. I mean, obviously both, right?
Yep.
You want good
teachers. You can't have
one
without the other. Yeah.
But I would say, if I'm going to be honest, teachers. You want good teachers. Yes, you want the parents on the other side to be involved to continue the education. But as someone who is very much involved in my kids' education, I have very personal experience with my daughter's 1 year in elementary school where her teacher was completely inexperienced. She basically did not have an education, in my opinion, that year. I was very much involved. And still, I think my daughter, honestly, and this was 5-6 years ago, is still catching up.
Yeah.
Is still catching up. I'm still putting her in tutoring. And I really do base it all on that one bad year. And I was involved. I was, all these sorts of things. But if you're sending your child someplace for 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours a day, and they're just not getting an education in all subjects because the teacher was just not good.
Yeah.
It can really, really hurt, which again is really what we're talking about here. Now take that and extrapolate that to K through 8, right? Yeah. Like you feel like every single time you send your kid to the public school in your district, it's teacher after teacher that's not prepared. I can understand the desire to get that voucher to help you afford a different school. Could we use that voucher to up teacher pay to bring in better teachers and more experienced teachers also? I mean, are there other answers than basically abandoning our public education system that so many Americans depend on? It's a tough one. And again, that's why when I started this off, I said it really matters people's background. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Kim?
Okay, so on the surface, I agree with you. But just to play devil's advocate, I'm going a whole nother way.
Okay.
I've seen parents say, I don't understand why my kid isn't learning to read. They're, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Right. We're now in second grade. And, isn't the school supposed to teach this? And why are they struggling so much? And this is horrible. And I always say, well, Are you reading to your kid at night?
Right.
Well, we're busy at night. We have sports games and whatever. Oh, okay. Did you buy the Bob books at Costco? Are you going through the Bob books with your kid?
Mm-hmm. Which were a lifesaver, by the way. Anybody
Yeah.
new kids, anybody that's pregnant or has the Bob books. I didn't know about the Bob books with my daughter, but I knew about it with my son. Your kid's going to be reading so fast.
Yeah.
Bob books are hooked on phonics.
Yeah.
Bob books. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry,
So I feel like parents have a lot more impact than we think. I have a friend who said one year her children, who's just twins, they were in school in Santa Rosa, and the math teacher was they weren't learning the math that she felt they needed to learn, not to the level that they had been accustomed to learning.
Right.
And so after school, she goes, school was a waste of time for them because every day after school, we'd have real school. Right. So she'd pick her kids up from school and off to the kitchen table they'd go and they'd learn math and they'd, do some English and do some history. She would reteach them what they needed to know. If you're paying attention, then your kid maybe, if you can swing it and have all the extra time to devote to it, might not fall behind. I think parents can be as important to the game as teachers. And I don't think you can have success unless you are looking in both departments.
Right. And that's the preferable. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's rare. I have a niece like this. No one ever has to do anything. She gets all of her self-confidence from how well she does in school.
Oh,
Parents
nice.
never had to lift a finger. She's extra smart and she's extra motivated. She's just got that mix of things. You can be really smart and not really care about school, enjoy your friendships there much more than you enjoy the academics, right? She's the whole package, but not every kid is like that.
Yes.
And so I feel like you really need to have the encouragement at school and home, both.
I'm pulling a picture as you were talking, and you're absolutely correct. Both is preferable. And it's so important. And parents, I know that, sports and everything like that, it happens, the time gets away with you, but you can't then call up the school and bitch about a teacher if you're not reinforcing things at home. But somebody was asking, what are Bob books? This is just a basic one. Sam sat, Matt sat. It starts out small, then it gets more complicated with different types of sentences, longer sentences, more complex sentences. But I'll never forget just sitting with my son, because I did not know about the Bob books with my daughter. We use different types of books to learn how to read, but I wish I had. But with Dylan, you just do it. You go over it a couple of times and then they get it, right? They get the endings and the rhyming and all sorts of things. And it's really, really well done books. And
but
they're not
it starts
expensive.
early. I mean, you teach
really
them.
Early.
You have to teach them their letter sounds so that by the time they're even ready to read, they know it.
Exactly.
This is all parent stuff. You can send your kid to preschool, but that doesn't happen unless parents are involved. And it doesn't end there. I mean, we're still, you guys know, I've talked about how we're still doing math over the summer. Like we're still, my emphasis is still on academics, and it has to be, because if I don't care about it, why are they going to care about it?
Why are they going to care about it? Yeah. And every student's different. You know what I mean? They learn different ways, and you have to kind of go with the flow. Again, my daughter learns one way, my son learns a different way, and we as parents need to adapt and change actually how we talk about it, right? Like we talked about math like a few days ago. Don't constantly put it in their heads that, oh, I wasn't good at this, you're not going to be good at this, or you are good at this because I was good at this. No. Just meet them where they are and help them grow. Vilma says in private school, the kids get the tools they need in order to do well in school. In public schools, it seems that C's are good enough. Well, what is it? C's get degrees. That's what they always say. That was like a saying, like you'll get a degree with C's. I get what you're saying though, Vilma. I'm just kind of making a joke, but good enough to pass. Yes. But I would also say bringing it back to parents versus teachers. Is it good enough for you as the parent? Do you want your child to just be a C student? And what does that mean? If they're trying and they're studying hard and the best they can do is a C, does that matter to you? Yeah. It's all how you and your student learns and your child learns. Jim says, sending my kids to Catholic school because the education is better, but I do not like vouchers because I understand the benefits to society where most families cannot afford any other options. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, great show. I didn't get to everything. I have a funny story I'll end with tomorrow that has to do with what parents allow their kids to do. And I can't wait to hear what Kim McAllister thinks about this one celebrity story. But before we go, guys, can you do us a quick favor? Do us a solid, shall you? Click that thumbs up button to show your support of the show.
Yep.
A big thank you to everybody that donated to our super chat. Andreas,
yes.
listening live from Greece. Enjoy Greece. We miss you so much, and we're so happy you're on vacation, and we constantly think about you and your family. But thank you for the two $20 donations. Actually, three $20 donations. Thank you. And for all the help. And Kim and I, we really appreciate it. Beth also came through with the $20 donation and looking forward to the after party that starts a week from today. Wes, also a huge supporter of the show, regularly comes in with donations. Thank you for the $5, Wes. You are so, so very generous. And again, you guys, sign up to become a monthly Patreon subscriber. It's simple. It's as much as you can afford once a month. It's just a one-time payment a month. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. Our Patreon link is there. Our PayPal link is there. Our merch shop is there. And finally, please remember to subscribe to Kim's After Party. Starts a week from today from 1 until 2. Go to don't forget the afterparty.live. It's going to be a grand old time starting a week from today. What are we up to? Do you have it up?
I'm clicking and putting the link again in the thing, and let me
refresh. We are
at 779.
That's great. Okay.
Yes.
Literally. Come on, guys. We could do this. I'd love it for it to happen on my show that we could just click it over to 1,000. Let's make it happen. Let's just keep doing it and keep the party going.
Subscribe. It's free and I'm very grateful for the help. Really.
Absolutely. So theafterparty.live. And we'll see you guys here tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.